notice today is going to be our first day in starting a yarn weaving. Recently, we've been talking about weaving using paper and learning the terminology in weaving. Here you see a pouch that I had made years ago. It still looks a little incomplete to me. Maybe I want to add a button or a strap. But you can see that this is a usable, functional pouch. So what you're going to need today is you're going to need your loom, which is this cardboard piece right here. And you're going to need a bundle of yarn that I've wrapped up for you. You're going to need 2 paper strips, scissors, and some tape. So here is a weaving that is being worked on. It is not complete. You can see the ends are, sticking out and they look kind of messy, but don't worry. Later on, it's going to be a really nice looking weaving. So this is partially done, almost done, on the loom. And here you see my weaving loom. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to unravel the yarn, and then you're going to want to get yourself a piece of tape ready. Now notice on this loom there are these little end pieces of cardboard sticking out. We call these notches. You should notice in your loom there's one that's thinner than the other. I want you to put that on the left side just so it's facing just like mine so you can follow along. So I'm going to get a piece of tape. I'm going to take my yarn and I'm going to tape it down on the front side closest to the side of the thinner notch. I'm going to press the tape down and I'm ready to go. So you might remember when we did our paper weaving, we cut out the paper long lines. We called those the warp lines. That's what we're doing now, our warp lines. So now I'm going to pinch this down. I'm actually going to flip this over and I'm going to start pulling the yarn up and down, back and forth. I'm not going behind it. I'm not turning it over, around each notch. So I'm wrapping around the top, going to the bottom, wrapping around to the next one, to the top, wrapping around to the bottom. Okay, I'm keeping it tightly pulled, not too tight because then you're going to stretch on your cardboard loom, but you want it snug. You don't want a loose, that's too loose. You want it snug. Okay, so now I'm getting to the end one. Right here, you see there's no more room. I'm still holding it tightly. I'm going to flip it over, still holding tightly. And now you see I'm on opposite side of where I taped. I'm going to do the same on this side. Wrap around. Okay. And I'm almost at the end. Oops, that's getting caught up in the notch. Okay, so I'm on my end one. I don't want to bring it up to this one. I'm going to bring it close, but notice I'm pinching the yarn down, okay? I'm going to trim an extra piece off. It's always useful to have extra in case you need it later. So I'm still holding it. I'm going to take another piece of tape and I'm going to tape my other end. So notice that your both loose ends are on the same side. There's a method to my madness. So if we count our warp lines on this side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and if I flip it over, I should have 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Very important. You do not want to have the same number on each side because you're doing that opposite over, under. You want to be able to keep going around it. And with the odd number, it makes it work. So after you've done this successfully, you can get rid of the extra scrap yarn. You won't need it. You're going to take your 2 paper strips. So I'm actually going to turn over to the side where the loose pieces aren't. And I'm going to go to the bottom and I'm going to go over the first warp line like we did with paper weaving, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. Okay, so I started on over, I ended on under. This is very important, okay? So I'm on under. So I'm on my left side. I'm going to flip this over. Remember, I ended on under. So that means I'm going to start over on this side because you remember it's going to wrap around itself. Okay, so I said it was on under, so I'm going to start over. Under, over, under, over, under. I'm going to end on over because these two end pieces don't count. Now let's check and see if I did this correctly. So I ended on over here. So if I flip it over here, it's on under. So that's perfect. That's exactly what you need to get started for weaving. And then you just slide these to the bottom. These are going to help you later on. And if you really want to make sure that you did your loom warp lines correctly, you will see these little wraparound pieces on both sides, top and bottom. And again, you should have 8 warp lines on one side, 7 on the other. And really, starting on the right side, I started over and I started over here. That's what you need to do. And next, we'll be ready for the next direction, which is to weave our weft lines right and left, back and forth. All right, that's it. Thank you. See you soon.